has signed a new key member of staff to join the Manchester United team. Erik ten Hag supposedly being asked to change his style of play or risk getting sacked. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on the show this morning. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Hit a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please also subscribe to the channel. We're very close to 40,000 subscribers. Currently, only 50% of people who subscribe watch our videos. So make sure you go and get involved. It's completely free content. No reason not to subscribe. Right, let's get straight on into it though. And let's start the show off by reacting to a story that came up this morning. This is coming out from Jamie Jackson, who is a journalist here in the UK. And he is reporting apparently that Manchester United, or Ineos to be specific, Dan Ashworth, the executive team above Erik ten Hag, are apparently not convinced with what they've seen from Ten Hag so far this season. Now, let me just say this. We're 3 games into the season. We beat Fulham 1-0. Yes, it wasn't that convincing, but we should have scored 3 or 4 goals in that game. Against Brighton, we were an inch away from winning that game. Xerxes obviously being offside when the goal went in. That would have been 2-1, and I think we would have been able to at least get a draw or win that game then. And then Liverpool was a joke. We deserved to lose that game. We were terrible. But the point I'm making here is I think, it has been blown out of proportion a little bit. But at the end of the day, football is a results business. Manchester United have aspirations of getting back into the top 4. And when you've only got 3 points from your first 9 games, after you've spent nearly £150 million, serious questions are going to be asked. And you know what? I've been the biggest supporter of Erik ten Hag. I was very much Erik ten Hag in, and I still very much am Erik ten Hag in. And the main reason for that is because I think you look at our previous track record, right? We hadn't won a trophy for 6 years. We were in absolute turmoil. Erik ten Hag comes in his first year, he gets 3rd place, he gets to an FA Cup final, and he wins a League Cup. Second season, obviously the position in the Premier League was terrible, but we did win an FA Cup, which was it's a trophy that we still want to win. And you compare that with other teams like an Arsenal. In 6 years of Arteta's won the FA Cup and that's it. Whereas in 2 years of Erik ten Hag, we've won an FA Cup and a League Cup. So arguably on paper, Erik ten Hag is a more successful manager than Arteta is by way of trophies. And trophies are the most important thing. I know you want to win as many games as possible. I know you want to see a style of play, but maybe Manchester United have just become a cup side under Erik ten Hag, and it's whether we are happy about that, whether we are accepting of that. And I think, ideally we want to be a team who can challenge in the Premier League and win the cups, but with the dominance of Man City, even if we were, as good as Arsenal, we probably still wouldn't win the Premier League anyway, because Man City are just too good. So it's a really hard one because, you look at the situation, you look at these comments that have come out from Jamie Jackson, who's effectively said that, Ineos are keeping a close eye on Erik ten Hag. They're not convinced by the tactics. They're not convinced by the style of play. And I think that probably is the biggest criticism that I would give Erik ten Hag, to be fair. Like, his in-game model is questionable at times. And it doesn't really seem like they're questioning the individual results. That's one thing to really, really focus on. So this story from Jamie Jackson says that apparently Ten Hag is under pressure from Ineos because of the in-game model, not because of individual results. And also, the fact that supposedly Ineos were trying to tell Erik ten Hag how to play football. Apparently Ten Hag didn't like that. So yeah, it's a little bit of a strange one because obviously they've backed him. They've given him a new 1-year extension on the contract. They've obviously invested heavily in Manchester United over the summer. They brought in 5 players, or 5 first-team players. Obviously, we've brought in, Chido Obi-Martin. We brought in that Kone guy as well. But we brought in 5 first-team players, and we did spend a large amount of money. Although, at the same time, we did sell a lot of players as well. It was the first time in a very, very long time where we've actually sold a lot of players. And if you look at our net spend this summer, it was 100... let me just double check what it is in pounds, because I know people like to do pounds on here. So our net spend this summer was £93 million. It's not that much, I don't think. And Sky Sports can put all these clickbait infographics up where they say, oh, Man United have spent this, Man United have spent that. But the fact of the matter is, we did only spend £93 million net, okay? And we did remove vast amounts of wages. Whereas if you look at last season, under the Glazers, we spent £121 million. So the Glazers spent £30 million more net last summer than Ineos have this summer. Now, I'm not complaining about Ineos. I'm just saying that although we did sign 5 players, £93 million net is not actually that much money. I remember, in previous regimes when the Glazers got out of the top four, they'd go and spend like 200 million. But I'm not saying that's a good thing, because that's effectively why we're in the mess we're in now, because they'd go and spend ridiculous amounts of money on average players. Whereas I do think that this last transfer window under Ineos has been one of the best in recent years, to be able to get rid of that vast amount of players. You look through the players that we let go. This summer alone, McTominay, Mason Greenwood, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Willy Campoala, Hannibal, Pellistri, Alvaro Fernandez, Donny van der Beek, Rafael Varane, Omari Forson, Jadon Sancho, Martial, Brandon Williams, and Amrabat. We got rid of 14 players. And if you think that, the wages alone from those players will be absolutely ridiculous versus what we've signed. So they've done well, I think. They've got rid of some of the older players on the big wages. They've got rid of some of the kind of young players who probably weren't going to make it in Manchester United. But the point I'm trying to get to here is they have invested heavily. If you compare that to, say, let's have a look at Arsenal. Let's see what Arsenal's net spend is. I think this is quite an interesting comparison to do, because, it's easy for us to sit here and bash the manager. So Arsenal's net spend this summer was only £26 million. So they didn't spend very much. Let's have a look at, say, Manchester City. The thing with Man City is they've already done their spending. They don't really need to. Yeah, Man City's net spend. Man City made £116 million profit this summer. That's absolutely mental, isn't it? What about, say, like Aston Villa? That's another good team to look at. So just to remind you, our net spend was 90 million. Aston Villa's net spend was 30 million. So yeah, we're way up there with the net spend of this transfer window, Have a look at Brighton quickly, final one. I think other than Chelsea, Brighton has spent 180 million, but obviously they've sold a lot of players over the last few years, so that's kind of where they've got that money from. But if you say then look at Chelsea, Chelsea's net spend this summer was... it was only 40 million. It's not very much. Okay. But anyway, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the next kind of few weeks pan out. Welcome to Grant, by the way, who's just joined the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Thank you very much for your support, my friend. I really, really appreciate it. If you do want to join the Members Club, it really helps to support the channel. Hit the $sign. I think it's like 99p. Obviously, any support you can give is obviously appreciated. If you're not in a position to... support financially, just subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps. So yeah, please go and subscribe and like the video if you haven't already. And welcome to Grant, who has just joined the Daily Red Devil Members Club. Right. But yeah, in relation to tactics, the stories coming out this morning are effectively saying that, Ineos want to see change in the next few games. And you know what? I would agree with that. I think we do need to see change pretty desperately. Now, as Jamie Jackson said, they're not looking at individual results. They're not looking at one game. They're looking at the performances on the pitch. They're looking at how we're playing. And against Liverpool, we were terrible. Fulham, I thought we did all right. And I think Brighton, we did all right as well. And I think, as I said, if it wasn't just for one really unlucky offside decision, it was offside, don't get me wrong. But, I've never seen an offside goal like that before, ever. As long as I've been watching football, I've never seen it where somebody else kind of touches the ball in an offside position once the ball's kind of already going in the goal. But yeah, that was just unlucky. And obviously, if we'd have got that goal then, I think we probably would have ended up winning that match. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the next few weeks pans out. Let's see what people are saying. Kev says, greetings from Belgium. I hope you're doing well. Stephanie says, Kieran, if we had hired Poch instead of Erik ten Hag, we might have had a better style of play, but we probably wouldn't have won anything. Yeah, and that's the most important thing. That's the question, isn't it? And you've put in a really good question there. So let's do that. Let's do this. So what would you rather? Let's do this. Arsenal, nice style of football. Let's say nice football, no trophies. Or we do United, average football, trophies. And I know you can get both, but I think this is an interesting comparison or question to ask. What's the most important thing for you? Would you rather be an Arsenal who in 6 years have won one FA Cup, which was in the first 6 months of Arteta being there, and have won nothing else since then? No Europas, no League Cups, no Champions Leagues, nothing. No Premier Leagues. Or would you rather be Manchester United, who in the last 2 years, yes, the football's been average at times, but they have won an FA Cup and a League Cup and got to an FA Cup final, all within the space of 2 years. I'll be honest, I'd rather be Man United. I'd rather be winning trophies. I think, as I said, the competition for the Premier League is so difficult that even if we were, on par with like an Arsenal or a Liverpool, I still don't think we'd win the league, because I just think that Man City are just dominating it. They've got the best squad, they've got the best manager, they've got the most money. They can do crazy things with the sponsorships and stuff that, other teams don't seem to be able to do. So I think that even if we did take a massive leap forward, I still don't think we'd be able to compete with Man City personally. And I think there's this whole illusion that the Premier League is competitive in the top four. But let's be honest, Man City are just walk the league every single season. So yeah, I'm at the moment I'm relatively happy with Man United being a cup side. Obviously, I don't want us to lose badly to teams. No one wants that. But yeah, Alex says, what's the point of minor trophies? Do you really think the FA Cup is a minor trophy? The FA Cup's the most iconic, if not the most iconic trophy in domestic club football in the world. The FA Cup isn't a minor trophy in any way, shape or form. I don't think. Like, I'd rather win the FA Cup than the Europa League. I'd rather win the FA Cup than the Conference League. Obviously, I'd rather win the Champions League than the FA Cup and the Premier League. But I'd say after the Champions League and the Premier League, the FA Cup's the next one, isn't it? I'd probably do it like this. I'd say Champions League's number one, then Premier League, then FA Cup, then the Europa League, then probably the Conference League, and then the League Cup as the last one. I agree that the League Cup's pretty insignificant, but the FA Cup, we had to beat Liverpool to get there. We had to beat Man City, two of the best teams in the world. It is a good trophy to win, in my opinion, and it's got so much history. Yeah, obviously it would have been a different conversation if Manchester United hadn't won the FA Cup. I think then you'd probably have a different manager realistically. And I think, he probably only kept his job because of the FA Cup win. But let's move on from that though. So that was the little section on the tactics, saying that apparently Erik ten Hag is kind of being expected to change his tactics. But I wanted to talk a little bit about a new signing that Dan Ashworth has apparently... what's the word? Effectively, this is Dan Ashworth signing. So Manchester United have appointed a new head of performance. Great. I think we need players. I think we need, staff like that. I think people are so obsessed about signings, but it doesn't really matter who. Well, obviously, it does matter who the signings are, but if you haven't got the right people behind the scenes to help these players achieve their potential, then it kind of is irrelevant. You could have this team of world-class players, but if your coaches, your fitness department, your chefs, and all of that aren't good enough, then you're not going to get the full potential out of them. So the guy's name is called Sam Erik. The story says that Sam Erik will take up his position on Monday, so this coming Monday, after being targeted by Dan Ashworth, to whom he will report to directly. He is considered one of the best in the business and has worked for England, Manchester City, and Tottenham. So he'll be Manchester United's performance director. Great, amazing. Bring these people in. This is exactly what we want. We want the best in class being brought to Manchester United to help these players, to help Erik ten Hag, and to help the other coaches achieve what we think we can achieve. To desire for more, to strive for better performance. So yeah, really, really happy about that. I'll be honest, I didn't really know too much about him, but I've just gone and read some stuff about him, and he does seem to be, as this story said, one of the most sought after performance directors in the Premier League, at least, obviously having worked for the England national team, Tottenham and Man City in the past. So yeah, that's really, really good, and that's great to see. Also wanted to say as well, congratulations to Garnacho, who got an assist last night for the Argentinian national team. That's amazing. Interestingly enough, Lisandro Martinez actually featured at left back in this game, which I thought was quite mad. Hopefully we don't see Lisandro Martinez at left back for Manchester United. I mean, it might happen. If Luke Shaw and Malacia are still out for a little while, there is the potential that we see Martinez at left back. But I personally wouldn't do that. It's not for me. But he did play at left back for Argentina last night against Chile. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. But congratulations to Garnacho and congratulations to Argentina in that game. And also, obviously, a massive congratulations to Cristiano Ronaldo, who got his 900th club goal yesterday. Which, fair play to Ronaldo, absolute legend. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Bjorn says United was always known as a cup team in the 80s before Sir Alex Ferguson changed that. Yeah, of course. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, right? Man City's dominance in the Premier League, I just think it's going to go on and on and on and on and on. Unless, of course, they get found guilty of these charges, then I think the tables will turn. But if you look, Man City have won the league for the last 4 years in a row. Is it the last 5 years in a row now? No, the last 4 years, isn't it? And I know it's very early on, but I would say that Man City, based on what they've done so far, Man City are going to win the league again this season, I think, personally. I think they've got the best squad. They've got the best manager. They've got Erling Haaland, who's just an absolutely unbelievable player. Yeah, I would be stunned if Man City don't win the league again this season, which would then make it 5 years in a row. And the point I'm trying to make here is the gap between even Arsenal and Man City and Liverpool and Man City and Newcastle, whatever, all of these teams around there, Man City are just dominating. They're absolutely dominating. So maybe it is just like that realization that until either one, Pep goes, or two, Man City get found guilty of these charges, they're just going to continue dominating. And I think until that happens, it's just about us building. It's about baby steps. It's about us getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And at some point, Pep will leave or Man City will get found guilty, and then everything will change and it will become competitive again. But at the moment, it's not competitive. I know people will say, oh, well, Man City are on 9 points and Liverpool are on 9 points. I get that. But yeah, let's have a look at the odds of let's have a look. Premier League winner odds. I mean, it's going to be Man City as the favourites, isn't it? Yeah. Man City are like massive favourites to win the Premier League against this season. Then it's Arsenal, then it's Liverpool, then it's Chelsea, then it's Tottenham, then it's Man United. I mean, that's surprising. Man United are 6 favourites to win the league. Not sure where they've got that from. I guess these were the odds probably at the beginning of the season before the actual Premier League started. But yeah, as it stands at the moment, Man City are massive favourites, and that would be their 5th title in a row. And I just think that obviously we want to aspire for top 4. We want to aspire to to bridge the gap again. But I just think that if we do just end up being a cup side for the next few years, if we go and win the Europa League this season, I'll be happy, to be honest. I will, because I'd rather us win trophies than be like Arsenal, who say we've won 1 trophy in 6 years, but we finished second to Man City. Like, finishing second gets you nothing. And I even speak to some Arsenal fans who are like unhappy about it. They've had Arteta there for 6 years. They've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of million, and they've won 1 trophy in 6 years. Like, is that real achievement? I don't think so. And I get that they play nice football and all the rest of it, but yeah. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. I thought it was quite an interesting conversation to have, though. Malp says Man City are miles ahead of everybody. Yeah, they are, mate. They are. Grant says, do you think Rasmus Højlund will start against Southampton? I think he probably will, yeah. I think he will. Obviously, he hasn't gone on the international. So, yeah, hopefully Rasmus is back for the Southampton game. Although, will he be ready to start? I'm not sure. Maybe he'll come off the bench. I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be very surprised if Rasmus Højlund actually starts that game without having had any match fitness. Like, when did he last play football, Rasmus? Was it in the pre-season tour, I think? Randy says Sir Alex Ferguson never played nice football but won games. Wow. That's a controversial take for this morning, for an 8:30 on a Friday morning. Fair play. I know what you mean, but I'm not sure I agree with you entirely. But I understand your point. Like, a lot of the time, Jose Mourinho didn't play nice football, but he won countless amounts of trophies. So I get what you're saying there. Like, you don't necessarily have to play nice football to win football matches, do you? You could just park the bus and hit on the counter attack, like Ollie did. Like, under Ollie, we were Moments FC, weren't we? We'd park the bus, we'd hit on the counter attack, and we'd win games. And at the time, people weren't happy with that either, because they said, oh, we're Man United, we should be coming at teams, we should be pressing them, we should be dominating them. So it is a difficult one, because if a manager comes and parks the bus and gets results, people are disappointed and said this isn't a Man United way. Erik ten Hag comes and he tries to play, progressive, open, exciting football, and then we lose matches and they say he's not good enough. So there isn't really a middle ground, is there? Unless you want to just do like a Man City where you just have 70-80% of the possession, bore the death out of the opponents, and then score a goal when they lose concentration for a couple of seconds. Like, that's the alternative, isn't it? Randy says our season starts against Southampton. That's the kind of positivity I like. You know, you can only look at the next game. We've got to go out and give a massive statement performance against Southampton, I think. You know, it's got to go out and be like a 3 or 4-0. It has to be. I don't think Southampton have a single point yet, do they, in the Premier League? But, you know, as I've said to you guys before, you can never underestimate teams in the Premier League. You can't. Southampton have decent players. Obviously not as good players as us, but anything can happen. Let's have a look. Have Southampton won any games yet? Southampton have no points. They've got -4 goal difference, 0 points. Who have they played? Let's have a little look. So Southampton so far lost to Newcastle, they lost to Nottingham Forest, and they lost to Brentford. So yeah, they've not done particularly well so far, Southampton. Let me have a look at the Southampton team. I don't really know. Who have they got? Southampton. They got Ramsdale in goal. I mean, their team looks like a championship team. I'm sorry. Like, we have to go and beat Southampton. They've got Armstrong up front. They've got Ramsdale. They've got Bednarek. Yeah. Like, and then you look even on their bench. It's like people like Adam Lallana. Like, how old is Lallana now? He must be in his mid-30s, isn't he? Yeah, he's 36, Adam Lallana. So, yeah. I like that positivity, though, that the season starts against Southampton. We have to go and beat them. If we don't beat them, there's going to be serious questions asked, but I think we will. Rob says we're not good enough for top 4 yet. I mean, that's probably a fair point. I would agree with that. I said that in the summer. I said that after just after we'd signed De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, Mazraoui, etc. I said, I still think we'll finish 6th to 8th. But I think we could go and win the Europa League because I see us as a cup side, Yeah, I think we're still like 2 or 3 transfer windows away from being in maybe like a 2nd or 3rd place team in the Premier League, I think. And whether that's with Erik ten Hag or not, I don't know. I think Erik ten Hag is actually not really the main point here. I think, for me personally, there's still a lot of players that need to leave this club, and there's still a lot of signings that need to be made, and we couldn't do that all in one window. So I think, you've got to give it another 2 or 3 windows, obviously including January. So kind of this window in January, and then next summer. After that, you'd expect, obviously, Maguire will be gone, Lindelof will be gone. All of these players that are on the kind of brink of the squad will be pushed out. We'll get a new left back. We might get another midfielder. But yeah, you can let me know your thoughts on that. Let me just read out the results of the poll. So, 71% of people said they would rather be like United, which is average football but winning trophies, and 29% say that you'd rather have nice football like Arsenal but no trophies. So there you go, that's that one. But I'm going to wrap the video up here. I will be back at 6 p.m. for another live show. Please make sure to hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.